Manipulating lighting in Lightroom. This is Lightroom for completely beginners, a series of classes where you will learn how to professionally edit your photos in Lightroom 2024 to start making money with portraits or charge more for your services. If you're new here, I am Silvia, specialist in the magazine style of maternity photography. My goal is to help you improve your retouching skills to make more money with photos. Now let's get into the video. Now that we are done with the color grading here in our photo, another thing that we can do is to play a little bit more with the lighting. This part has something to do with the identity of your work. While in the beginning of the course, we were working with correcting the light, we are actually just doing a basic correction of the lighting and not necessarily manipulating and doing anything creative with the lighting. Now we are talking more about the manipulation of the light and doing something creative with the light. So you might be a person that really likes photos that are more contrasting, and you can add the contrast right now, or maybe not as much of contrast, or you might be a person that likes to have this vintage look, old photo look to your photos. This is a moment that you can play a lot with the light and find out what you actually like. And if you don't know what you like, the suggestion that I have for you is just to see the photographers and photos that you like from other photographers. Take a look of how the lighting is in their photo and try to reply that for your photos as well. Another thing that you can do as well when you're manipulating the lighting is to bring more focus to your client. Make everybody just go straight and look to your clients, anyone that is seeing the photo. So it's just bring more attention to your client. And I'm gonna show you a few things here that we can do manipulating the light in this step. And let's see the results that we can get with the photos that we have. For this photo here, we can add some more contrast, we can reduce some contrast. So now you can tweak a little bit more of the basic tab, or you can also work with the tone curves that besides of working with the colors, you can work with the luminosity of the photo in general as well. You can work more, let me go back. You can work more with the lighting and be more specific working the masks as well. And these are ways that you can create some effect. Another thing that you can do as well is I'm going to show you how you can create some lighting effect to bring more attention to your model, but you can also do that by going to effects and actually creating some vignette. I'm not sure how to pronounce this word in English, but you can work a little bit creating more attention to your model like this. So let's just see what we can do with this photo here. I think that the photo might be actually a little bit too dark, especially the dress is way too dark for me. So I'm just gonna go a little bit up with the blacks and a little bit up with the shadows as well. Now I'm gonna go up with the highlight just a little bit more. Gonna bring down the shadows. I think that I went too much with the highlight. So I'm just saying like things that you can tweak now and actually be thinking more about the creative process of the lighting. Another thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to tone curve, and you can work with the lighting right here as well. If you like more contrast, you can create the S curve that's very famous. So it's just going up with the brightest area of your photo and going a little bit down with the dark areas of your photo. I think that for this photo, it is already too contrasting, so I'm not gonna be playing with the curves right now. If you wanna bring that vintage look, that old look to your photo, what you can do is go into curves and bring up this part here of the curve where you're working with the dark areas of the photo. So if you bring up, you start making the dark areas a little bit lighter, and you start losing a little bit of the contrast of the photo, and this gives that old vintage look aspect to your photo. And you can go up, it doesn't need to be too much, you can just go up a little bit and actually bring a little bit down, just create another point here, just to create a little bit of the contrast, but still having this vintage look to this photo. Because this photo is very well edited already, we were just trying a bunch of things in this photo. It's a little bit hard to see, so I'm gonna go to another photo here, and let's use the curves and tweak a little bit to see what we can do with this photo right now. So I'm just gonna go up with the light, and I'm gonna bring a little bit of contrast to the photo. So I'm gonna create another point here and bring down the curve. And right now I just create a little bit more contrast in the photo. And here's the before and after. Before and after, it looks pretty good. The thing that I was talking about, the vintage look to your photo, you can go up here with the dark just a little bit, and you start seeing that the black area, the dark areas start fading a little bit. Sometimes you just want to bring a little bit, but you don't want to be too intense on it. So you can create another point here and just bring it down a little bit just to get back that contrast that you lost. But still, you still have that vintage look in your photo. So here's the before and here's the after, before and after. I think that it looks really good for this photo. So I'm gonna leave it like this. Another thing that we can do is to create that lighting here on the effect. And I'm just gonna go all the way so you can see what's happening. So you create some dark areas around the photo. You can also, if you go to the opposite way, side, you create a white one, but we don't want a white one because we want to bring the focus to the client. And when you create a lighting like this, you're making everything that is darker is it's like being hidden somehow, and everything that's lighter is has more attention. It calls for more attention, so the eye of the viewer goes straight to where it's brighter. So when you do this, you're making this part here of the photo to bring the attention to pop out more. So we are gonna go all the way here to the left so we can see what we are doing with this effect. And there is other tweaks that you can do for this effect. So for example, we have the midpoint. If you go to the left, you're just making it bigger, the circle here of the effect. If you go all the way to the right, you're making smaller. So we are gonna go to a number here that we think that's good, that it's not necessarily hitting our model, but it's getting close to our model. I like this this number here. I think it's good. The roundness is like how round you want the effect to be. So if I go all the way to the left, is a little bit more square, and if I go all the way to the right, is a little bit more circle, in a circle shape. So what I want to do is to have a little bit like how it is, because it is the perfect, like this oval shape is giving a perfect place. It is in a perfect place that it's not reaching the model as much. So I'm gonna leave it how it is. And now we have the feather. The feather is how much the transition between the effect and to not have the effect, how the transition you want this to be. So you want this to be a little bit more intense where you see the line of the transition, or you want this to be fading away. So if I go to the left, we can see like the edge of the circle very well. And if I go to the right, you can see that it's fading away a little bit. I don't like to go all the way here, so I'm gonna go back here, and I'm just gonna change a little bit, and I'm just gonna go slowly, just slowly a little bit more with the feather. And I think this is good because still I don't want it to get to reach my client here too much. And the highlights, it's not gonna do any difference here for this photo. But for example, let's say that you had something that's very bright in this part of the photo. When you tweak with the highlight, you're saying that you want the effect to happen, but where you have something that's very bright and it has the highlight, the effect will not be applied. And it makes sense because let's say that I had a lighting right here and this part was very light in my photo. It wouldn't make sense for the photo to have this dark area around in this part where the light is, because the light is something very bright. So it doesn't make sense. It creates like a very unrealistic look for the photo when you put something, when you try to make it darker, something that it's supposed to be, is supposedly to be very bright. So that's what it means. We don't have this option here. We don't have the anything that's light around the photo. So that's why we cannot see anything here working with the highlights, but that's what it means. And now I'm gonna go back with the amount to 0, and slightly I'm just gonna go down and see how much of the effect I want. And I think that right here is pretty good. So here's the before, here's the after. I think that that's great. There is another way that you can do that if you do not want to work with the effects. And this way is by creating some masking. So I'm gonna go to masking. I'm gonna leave it like this right now because I think that it looks good. But we can go to masking. Let me do in the other photo. Okay, let's do in this photo here. What we can do is go to masking, and we can create a radial gradient, and we can create a really big circle. I think this way here on the mask, we might have more options of things that you can do. We are gonna click here on the invert. And now all the effects is gonna be applied around the circle, like in the outside of the circle. We can adjust a little bit of the feather. So everything that I'm doing here is things that we are doing actually already on the effect, on the effects tab. But now we are just doing manually, and you have a little bit more control. I can drag this a little bit more here, or I can make it bigger. I think this is good. So I am going to now go to exposure and just go lower with the exposure. You can see that I'm starting to have some mark here, so you can go back and play with the feathers so it's seamless. Or you can go up with the exposure and try other things. So shadows, you can try shadows, but I don't like it. I think that exposure works better. I'm just gonna go down with the exposure here. Another thing that I want to do, let me go back to curves, and I wanted to remove this reset channel. I wanted to remove those things that we did. And yeah, that's good. So let me go back to the mask, and let's see the effect right now. So here's the before and after, before and after. So we can see that there is, it's pretty similar, the effects that you can do with the effects that we have here in the effects. It's something very similar. So you can choose which one you think that it's best. Another thing that you can do with the lighting that sometimes I really like to do this is to intensify even more this lighting, but in the opposite way. It's like you're creating a new light that it's hitting the background, but right behind your model. And I think that every time, this is a beautiful lighting that you can do, especially if you're working in a studio. You can do this while you're taking the photo, but if you don't have this kind of lighting to do that while you're taking the photo, or if you have done it while you're taking the photo, you can do this and kind of create this effect here in Lightroom. So I'm gonna go to mask, and I'm gonna create a radial gradient as well. I'm gonna make a circle right here. And I want some lighting right here, right behind the model, but I don't want the lighting to reach the model, right? So I'm gonna go to subtract, and I'm gonna select subject. So she is now not on the selection. And now I'm gonna go to exposure and just bring the exposure up. And look how beautiful this is. And I can always tweak a little bit. If I go here, I can always tweak a little bit of where I want the lighting to be. So I'm just gonna leave where it was because I think it was pretty good. And you can just adjust like how much of this lighting you want, and it looks pretty good. And now we have created more attention to our client. For this photo, for example, we gave more contrast. We played a little bit more with the lighting in the surrounding of the photo, in the middle of the photo. So let's see the before and after. So here's the before, and here's the after. Before and after. Oh my God, look at this photo. Look how much you can do with the lighting. So I hope that you understand the difference between just correcting the lighting in the beginning of your editing process and now manipulating the light, because it is a huge difference. Now you know different things that you can do with the lighting in your photo to make the photo more interesting and also to bring your artistic vision to the photo, which is part of your photo identity, which I was telling you before. If you keep this consistent with the lighting, with the color grading, this is going to be really good for you to create a brand for your photography, a style for your photography, and clients will recognize your photos. They will understand your style and they will want to book with you because of that, because of your identity. This is really important if you want to make more money with photos. So click the like button if this video was helpful for you. Now we are almost done with our photo. Stay tuned for the next lesson of this course so we can learn how to finish this editing right here. And for sure, by now your photos are standing out way more than before. It has a professional look. This is really good. Again, if you're trying to attract more clients and make more money, subscribe to my channel if you're not yet. New videos come out every week. For now, this is everything, and I will see you in the next lesson.